How's the kidney?
Hello ladies and gentlemen, it is good to be making videos again. After a nice break, lack of ideas, and some frustrating ongoing technical difficulties, I'm so glad to be back. So what video idea did my brain have in store for me? Yeah, apparently some part of my inner psyche wants to talk about this film, which, yes, it has been on my list of stuff I wanted to do, and originally I was going to give it a full in-depth review. I also realized that I don't hate myself that much, and I am also not a masochist. Well, at least not that much. And so, when reflecting on the many problems this film had, I started thinking on what the biggest one is. Which, let me tell you folks, this movie is an all-you-can-eat buffet of terribleness. So basically any real-life buffet. I could go with the characters, or the story, or the pointless retcons to already pointless retcons. The fact that dinosaurs roaming our Earth are sidelined by a bunch of bugs, or that the ending where dinosaurs are seen in the world is a good thing, when in all reality it would result in hundreds if not thousands of species going extinct due to a number of reasons. Remember Florida and its invasive species problem? Well, imagine if you made all the reptiles there, about 20 times the size, and well, just see what our ecosystem is going to look like in a month. Newsflash, it's not going to be looking very hot. Sorry, lost my cool there. Anyways, the aspect that stuck out to me was the final battle of the movie, and how it might be one of, if not the worst final climax I've ever seen in a big budgeted movie. And that is truly saying something. I mean, all I need to do is refer back to the other movies that came out alongside Dominion to understand how bold of a statement I'm making, let alone to include all the final battles in cinematic history. I think it's pretty fair to assume that most people enjoy a good final battle in a movie, but what makes a good final battle? Well, for starters, it should be climactic, since it's the final confrontation of conflict. A great final battle should have some kind of stakes for the protagonist, and should feel like there's actually something on the line. The antagonist should also feel like a substantial threat that has been built up over the course of the story. It should also propel the story forward in some kind of way. But even if it doesn't include these story elements of a final battle, it should at the very least be entertaining and big if spectacle is the filmmaker's only objective when making a final battle. You should feel hyped about it, and it should get your adrenaline racing at least a little bit. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes a big action scene at the end of a movie is simply that. No need to look further into it. The Jurassic Park franchise has always been known for some fun and impressive action scenes, and the final battles are no exception. Some are definitely better than others. And Jurassic World Dominion certainly has a final battle. And it's easily the worst. Which is really saying something because it's not like the Fallen Kingdom climax was exactly of high quality. Do you get the very obvious foreshadowing here? Huh? Dominion's final battle consists of Rexy, the original T-Rex from the first movie, the Therizinosaurus, and the main antagonist dinosaur of the film, also known as the Joker. Give it up for the Giganotosaurus.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty of why this final battle is just the worst. I wanted something that felt like the Joker, Trevorrow said of the dinosaur, which comes from the late Cretaceous period. It just wants to watch the world burn. Fans may recognize that famous line, "Watch the world burn." Trevorrow is referring to comes from Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, during a scene in which Alfred is explaining to Bruce how sometimes there's no reasoning with people, things, and that they will do whatever they want.
You know, it's amazing. You are 100% wrong.
I mean, nothing you've said has been right.
I'm pretty sure Colin has some rare form of chronic diarrhea with how much shit he's constantly spewing out of his mouth. To begin, I think that was said to get promotional hype for the movie, because there's no way any functioning adult would say that this dinosaur at any point acts like the Joker in the whole movie. The ironic part is that this is arguably one of the most realistic interpretations of a predatory dinosaur within the franchise. The Indominus Rex was way more Joker-like than this wannabe Godzilla ever was. But that's fine, just because it acts like an actual animal isn't a bad thing. If you came across a normal lion, you still wouldn't be like, oh, that's not a crazy man-eating lion, so I'm gonna go pet it or not worry about it. No, you'd say, oh shit, that's a lion! The same would apply here, except, holy mother to god shit, that is a Giganotosaurus and it's gonna eat me! You know, something along those lines, give or take. So what does the Giga do in the movie? It stands there menacingly.
Standing there, menacingly!
It, stares at our main characters. It gets one kill. A locust that was already on fire. And that's pretty much it. We're constantly told about how this is
Giganotosaurus. Biggest carnivore the world has ever seen.
which, by the way, that's actually the blue whale, Alan. But we aren't shown that it's a threat. Again, whenever it's on screen, it doesn't do anything remotely scary. It should also be noted that the whole sequence is obviously a callback to the T-Rex attack in the first film, except worse. The whole scene where it interacts with the characters is incredibly laughable, with it just kind of looking at them slowly and roaring slightly, but never actually doing anything. And I've seen some people try to defend this by saying, oh, it's a predator, and most predators don't just rush in on prey, they often evaluate it to make sure it's not a threat, or it's gonna injure them in the process of hunting. And that's true. Predators do indeed do that to make sure they aren't risking injury or death. However, I find it ironic how defenders of these movies will always very selectively choose realistic aspects from nature to defend problems in the behaviors of the dinosaurs, but then when people point out how much of a jumping the shark situation some scenes can be, they say, well, it's a movie about humans cloning dinosaurs. Obviously, it's not supposed to be realistic. Stop complaining and just enjoy it. It's supposed to be a dumb, silly movie that you can just turn your brain off.
But the people are retarded.
Well, I wish I could shut down my brain that much, but then, legally I would be considered brain dead. Are you saying that these people are stupid? Hold on. Yes! Also, let's say that logic did apply. Fine. It goes away as soon as the Giga tries to eat Macy as she climbs the ladder, which clearly indicates that this thing sees these people as food. Also, love how the one person it goes for is conveniently protected by a giant metal cage when there are several unprotected snacks just below her that it already knows are there. But then once all the people are on the platform and get pinned up against the wall by it, it just slowly approaches them with its mouth open to act all scary. Or maybe give them a kiss, I don't know. Also, it very slowly goes for Ian Malcolm too, because protagonists have to protagonist somehow, or something. On the other side of the final battle is Rexy, the OG Tyrannosaur from the first movie, who has appeared in every other Jurassic World movie. And man, I am so sick of her. To not the total detriment of Rexy, she was much worse in Fallen Kingdom, with her just acting as a tool for nostalgia reminders, or as a personal bodyguard for our heroes. And ever since JP3, the T-Rex has been used for one thing, to show how scary and cool the new villainous dinosaur is. The running joke of how the T-Rex can't fight anything at its weight class is as sad as it is true. So very.
Oh, I get it. You're jealous because I have this perfect little beak and you have that giant nightmare. Oh.
Because the writers of these movies can't think of cool ways to introduce our new villainous dinosaurs or show how much of a threat they can be, they always default back to showing the Tyrannosaur getting wailed on by the "we need a new villain and can't think of anything creative-osaurus." It was fine the first time, but it's gotten lazy and repetitive, and it's just one of the ways that this franchise is showing how the people in charge of it have no new ideas and swan dive into the pool of familiarity. In the first film, not only did she feel like a larger-than-life threat, but most importantly, she acted like an actual animal, and not just an ex machina device for the writers. And don't get me wrong, I love the final battle of Jurassic World as much as the next guy, but at what point does it get ridiculous? I'm gonna go with when she rescues the protagonist from the Carnotaurus as a volcano is in the middle of erupting.
I just love my job.
So how is Rexy in the grand finale of the entire Jurassic Park and World trilogies? I mean, she's in it. If we want to include the extended version, which has her interrupting a drive-in theater, then yeah, that's cool, and what more the film should have been. But we didn't get that in the main theatrical release. And so in the actual release that we got, she gets like 3 scenes, and practically all of them are involving a confrontation with the Giga. And in those 2 scenes, she's used to show how big and bad the Giga is. I get we live in a time where it's very popular to tear down well-established characters in order to show modern audiences how cool their brand new character is instead of actually making a good character, but I thought that at least a non-speaking dinosaur would at least be spared from this contemporary big screen inclinations. I didn't expect her to outright win these fights or absolutely destroy the Giga in one move, but it's not very interesting when it's a very one-sided fight both times. Also, if we are going to include the extended version, then the flashback sequence has all the same problems that I just mentioned. Which leads us to the next section. As our heroes try to escape by reaching the helicopter, we are interrupted with an Easter egg so on the nose, audience members started choking on it from it being rammed down their throats so hard. I'm convinced the filmmakers see the Jurassic fanbase as some of the dumbest people to ever walk the earth. And if you're waiting for me to say something to disprove this, then all of a sudden the Giga appears and the 2 apex predators begin to circle each other and prepare for the epic showdown, because according to Alan,
This isn't about us.
only one little itty bitty teeny tiny problem. It's totally about them, since the whole fight we are constantly focusing on the characters tripping over bullshit instead of these 2 dinosaurs fighting with one another. You know, the thing people paid to see? I get that Trevorrow wanted to put the focus on the characters trying to escape to the helicopter while they are in the middle of the Clash of the Titans, but it doesn't work when either all the characters are flatter than a cardboard cutout of Scarlett Johansson, or so unlikable that you are actively rooting for them to get stepped on, eaten, or crushed by flying debris. But let's talk about this rivalry, because it's absolutely stupid in the theatrical release and arguably even worse in the extended edition, which contains the prologue.
This isn't about us.
Shut the hell up.
I get it for creatures like Godzilla and Kong to have this type of rivalry. That spans thousands, if not millions of years, or with whatever beef Godzilla has with every other species of titans in the monsterverse, because the creatures have always been shown to be more than just animals. They are conscious beings that have been alive for millions of years. The T-Rex and Giga, however, do not. They are just animals. Cloned animals, mind you. Especially the Giga, which I mentioned how animal-like and realistic it actually is. So this whole millions of year old beef between these 2 individuals, because the DNA is the same used from the prologue, presumably for the Giga as well, is utterly ridiculous and just stupid, especially when this wasn't built up properly to deserve the big epic showdown the film thinks it's delivering. Let's also not forget that's not how DNA works. Same goes for Jurassic World. By Jurassic World's logic of the Indominus having raptor DNA makes it being able to communicate. By that logic, we should be able to perfectly communicate with chimpanzees since we have 98% of the same DNA. But lo and behold, a small percentage can make quite the difference. Also, animals have been cloned. People have cloned their own pets. And then they act all surprised when those cloned animals don't act anything like their deceased pets. Because again, that's not how DNA works. It also doesn't help that these 2 already had an encounter with one another that ended very realistically and quickly, I might add, which both adds to the ridiculousness of this legendary rivalry, as well as undercuts the scale of the showdown. It's like if Rocky fought Creed in one fight in the challenge scene that ended in one quick round, and then you have your big fight with them where Rocky gets his shot at Apollo. Kind of loses its meaning if they already had a quick scuffle with one another that ended faster than a guy losing his virginity. It also doesn't help that the lighting is extremely dark with the occasional spotlight shining in the way, which adds this blinding effect to the audience, making it even harder to make out the action. The most I can say about the choreography when I actually see it is that it's extremely one-sided, which for your final battle, you don't really want. You want to make it feel like either side could win, but all we see is that Rexy gets one bite on the schnoz of the Giga, and that's it in their one-on-one confrontation, and it's disappointing. Looking back on another big monster fight, but Godzilla vs. Kong, each fight had each monster getting some decent hits in on the other, making even the really unfair fights seem much closer than whatever this is. But I could forgive all of it, if the focus was at least on the dinosaurs fighting, since...
This isn't about us.
Hey. Shut the hell up! Shut up! Shut up!
Skylar,
shut up!
please
shut up!
stop.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut
And what makes this even funnier is that some people think that the dinosaurs are actually the focus of the climax as seen in the Screen Rant article, which if you haven't heard, and Screen hasn't already discredited themselves over the years with just how pathetic and straight up wrong they are about movies, then this article will surely do it. The Giganotosaurus, T-Rex, and Therizinosaurus all fight each other in the closing scene of Jurassic World Dominion, but they ignore the human characters fleeing the scene. While this may seem like an odd mistake, it is a moment that hammers home that the fact that humans are ultimately not as significant to the dinosaurs as dinosaurs are to the humans. One of Jurassic World Dominion's biggest flaws was the lack of threat that the dinosaurs represented for the human characters during many pivotal scenes. But this final fight proved that their lives were never about the human characters. Instead, the bout was about the dinosaurs deciding for themselves who the true apex predator of the valley were. With the human characters out of the picture and on their way out of the valley, the dinosaurs were left to battle it out amongst themselves. This allowed the scene to humanize them more than ever before, as it is one of the only times the Jurassic World franchise focuses on the interactions between dinosaurs without humans being caught up in the chaos. While the Mosasaurus and T-Rex teaming up in Jurassic World was a thrilling finale, it was depicted as part of Owen and Claire's struggle to escape the crumbling theme park, and not as a storyline in its own right. In Jurassic World Dominion, the fact that the humans are already safe means that the power dynamics between the dinosaurs gets to finally be the center of attention.
What the hell was that?
Get this man an ambulance because I believe he has overdosed on copium. I'm fully aware that sometimes I act pretentious and try to be all deep and thoughtful when talking about a movie or a specific scene, but not even I would try this hard by saying, No, bro, you missed the really deep and secret meaning behind the final battle of Jurassic World Dominion. Never mind that this is the exact opposite of what Colin Trevorrow has said in an interview. I think what we ended up doing was really leaning into the human experience that our characters were having. We really stayed with the people. So you see a lot of legs and tails and you see this fight going on around the characters. But I wanted to keep it from the perspective that we would be able to have if we were there. It feels a bit more hopefully frantic. It's an escape to the helicopter surrounded by giants, and I love the way it turned out.
I cannot win! That is correct, Brennan! You cannot win the game!
And just like that, there goes any of Screen Rant's credibility as a film analyst website and as a business. Or, that smidge that was left of it. Hard to believe that some people have a tough time comprehending that people want to see dinosaurs fighting in a Jurassic World movie.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
The Giga beats Rexy with ease, trapping half of our cast, which leads to Kayla firing a flare, causing the Giga to get the attention of the Therizinosaurus, which has just magically appeared in the center area and apparently took no notice of the two apex predators fighting with one another, despite detecting a deer and yeeting it, to show how aggressive it is. So it's confirmed that a deer is indeed more dangerous than a dinosaur. Yeah, that checks out.
Hey, bro, watch your jet. Watch your jet, bro. Watch your jet!
The cast gets in the helicopter and flies away as the Tickle Chicken and the Who Gives a Saurus duke it out for a mere 10 seconds before cutting back to the boring, uninteresting characters. Because who wants dinosaur action in a dinosaur movie? But as the helicopter flies away, it in fact turns out that the T-Rex is not dead and it has its eye twitch, and stands up with no difficulty despite being knocked out for several minutes. And so we have another reused idea from this tiresome franchise. The Dino Team-Up.
Off to hang myself, off and left!
So in the first Jurassic World, it kinda made sense since Blue wasn't trying to save Rexy but attack the Indominus for killing her sisters, in which they both had a mutual understanding of what the Indominus was as much as these two animals can at least, and they didn't fight because there was no point to it between them. At least you can argue that Rexy saw Blue save her life and thus adding another reason why they wouldn't fight. Or probably the more realistic, Rexy didn't see Blue as a threat. However, in Dominion, the team-up and epic dude bro victory roar between Rexy and the Therizinosaurus makes no sense when we look at the two dinosaurs. The Therizinosaurus, while blind, would definitely see the T-Rex as a threat to itself, or at the very least as an intruder on its territory, which is why it started fighting with the Giga in the first place. Ironically, the film actually did such a good job of representing an aggressive herbivore that it ends up backfiring on the film because you don't believe it would be friendly with a T-Rex. And if we really want to get the nitpicky, and this is arguable if it's even canon to the franchise, but in some reports it stated that the Giga actually pushed the Buck and Doe Rex from the Lost World out of the swampy foresty area, so it's very possible that Therizinosaurus knows what a T-Rex is. I only add this point because Jurassic fanboys tend to grasp at anything that even remotely resembles a straw, so I like to cover my bases. While on the Buck and Doe note, that would have made for a much better alternative team-up option since it would still work with the realistic animal behavior that these films sometimes insist on keeping if the whole team-up aspect is still a requirement. Plus, it would get a lot of fanboys rock hard and wet. So, you know, win-win.
Stop! My penis can only get so erect.
This reused concept of dino team-up just feels lazy and not actually never feels fully realized, at least not in the way Colin Trevorrow describes it. He said he took inspiration of battle royale videos on YouTube where people make giant dinosaur battle royales in the game's Jurassic World Evolution and its sequel, with one of the most notable videos being made by everyone's favorite content creating rodent, the gaming beaver.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I guess I'll just stay on it. And if you're able, you might. Oh no, the Giga died instantly. Didn't even have a second to transport it. The car and the game crashed.
Never change, James. Never change. But seriously, for a grand finale of the franchise, a giant over-the-top battle royale with a bunch of dinosaurs would have been the type of stupid fun we wanted to see since this franchise has absolutely crashed past the threshold of smart filmmaking. At least give us fun craziness like the first Jurassic World. The whole reason the T-Rex, Giga, and Therizinosaurus are there is because all the dinosaurs and flying reptiles in the sanctuary were called there with the chip they have. And yet, with the exception of a Dreadnoughticus, Iguanodon, and Pteranodon, all the other dinosaurs aren't on the screen for the climax. It's just another plot hole in the long line of plot holes in this film. But either there should be more dinosaurs there, or the T-Rex and Giga shouldn't have been in that one specific zone without any other dinosaurs. Look, I don't want to be one of those guys that claims they can make a better movie than a professional filmmaker. But have you seen the movies and shows that are getting made nowadays?
They're crap. 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 Mega crap. I'll give you $200 for all of them.
That seems a little low.
Take them somewhere else then.
For starters, I would keep the focus on the actual dinosaurs, since we'll go on the assumption that I have to keep the rest of the film. And let's face it, this would be a band-aid and a lollipop on a fractured femur, but at least it's something. Next, no dino team-ups. I know a lot of people wanted to see a team-up between the Spinosaurus and Rex, but to me, it is just as stupid as the Therine Rex. And I say this as someone who has the Spinosaurus as his favorite dinosaur in the franchise. I'm sick of everything having to be a team-up nowadays. We rarely have these glorious one-on-one fights. If we keep the rivalry, really make it feel like a rivalry. give it a Western showdown type feel.
It only takes one bullet. You ain't got the nerve. Try me.
When all these other dinosaurs and elements are being thrown into a showdown, it takes away from what the main focus should be. I don't know why there seems to be this growing trend that if something is complex and has a bunch of different factors, it automatically means it's going to be good, and the opposite goes for simplicity, which really couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, just compare Multiverse of Madness and Iron Man, in which one is a simple journey about a man trying to correct the mistakes he's made and to protect those that are in harm's way because of him, and the other is hindered down with so much bullshit that resulted in one of the worst MCU movies ever. You know, at the time of recording this video. Simplicity is better and will always stand the test of time when done right. I mean, A New Hope is a very traditional hero's journey, but it's easily better than anything post-Disney era. Simplicity would have done this film a whole lot of good, especially since it would have trimmed off a lot of unnecessary fat and boring sludge. Because the Jurassic World franchise has to appeal to such a broad audience, it can't decide on what it wants to be, and this confused identity muddles, creating an underwhelming, lackluster confrontation of what should have been the apex of excitement for the story. You know how storytelling is supposed to work? All these failed elements have resulted in one of the worst final battles I have seen in a blockbuster. And that's not from a lack of competition. Now, I've seen some people try to defend the final battle by saying something along the lines of, well, of course it wasn't going to be as good as the final battle from the first Jurassic World, so why are people hating on this one? I believe it is fair to criticize the failures of the final battle and compare it to the first Jurassic World because it so obviously relies on a lot of aspects from that final battle, including similar scenarios and similar camera shots. How can you copy your own homework and still somehow mess it up? I won't pretend that the final battle of Jurassic World is some secret masterpiece of filmmaking that changes everything, unlike Screen Rant that thinks the same for the Dominion final battle, but at least it understood some basic elements and made it entertaining and gave audiences what they wanted to see. The irony that people like this insult the final battle of Dominion while trying to defend it is very humorous, but it's also very sad and frankly a pathetic way to look at life. Well, I couldn't possibly do better, so I shouldn't try and push myself to do or be better. Using comparisons of success of something else isn't an excuse for another thing's failure. If that's the kind of mindset that you want to have, then I'm sorry for you and hope that you realize there is much more than settling for the bare minimum. What was that quote from Whiplash again?
There are no two words in the English language more harmful than good job.
We have reached a point where mediocrity is celebrated. A time where people don't dare to ask more of others and more importantly of themselves. We find ourselves settling into the safe, familiar chairs of conformity where participation means more than actual success. And people, myself included, are still surprised when films like Jurassic World Dominion earn $1 billion.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
Seems very fitting though that the ending of a mediocre trilogy is not only the worst, but goes out with a mere whimper that will eventually be forgotten, and not a thunderous roar that will forever echo in the hearts of those that hear it.
I never imagined...
Who authorized you to do this?
You did? Bigger. Scarier? Cooler, I believe is the word that you used in your memo. But you didn't ask for reality, you asked for more tea.
I'm Cameron Facer, thank you all for watching the video. Spank all those buttons. I hope you all have a great day and stay safe out there. Bye bye.